Welcome to our video series on narrowing a topic or developing a topic focus. We're going to show you 3 strategies today. Our first strategy will be using your search map that you've hopefully completed using post-it notes, note cards, or bubbles to help you kind of tease out the subtopics or clusters of ideas. Another strategy is using a graphic organizer called Target Notes to, again, pull out emerging patterns of subtopics from your search map. The third strategy is using something called question lenses to, again, kind of look at what information you've gathered in your search map or your notes and then to start to hone in on a particular focus. In any of these instances, you have to have completed the search map. You have to have done extensive reading about your topic. If you have not done that, then you're not going to have enough background knowledge and not have enough background material to work with to begin to narrow your topic. So if you haven't done that critical step, you're going to need to drop back and complete that. Let's begin with using post-its, note cards, or bubbles, if you will, in conjunction with your search map. A super easy and tactile and visual way of beginning to glean through your notes, either from your search map or if you've taken notes in some other manner, is to do some mapping of subtopics or ideas. And basically, you can do this either using giant post-it notes. You could use piles of smaller post-it notes. But to really kind of go through your notes and start kind of creating bubbles with your post-it notes to pull out subtopics. So here's my map that I did researching Egyptian mythology and trying to figure out what are the cultural values. So you can see the databases that I mapped for the during my search and my search terms that I kept track of. So I had a couple of pages of that. And as I went through and started looking at the concepts and ideas that I pulled out, then I could see that they were basically falling into 3 big categories. So you could map these just using bubbles, or again, piles or clusters of post-it notes. So I had one subtopic that dealt with the importance of matriarchal order, the importance of females in ancient Egyptian society and culture. And going through my notes and kind of, again, pulling out patterns or clusters of ideas, I began to see another subtopic emerge, beliefs about the afterlife. And then finally, and again, going back and looking at my map and seeing, again, the big ideas that were emerging, I saw that there was a new subtopic emerging about order and society and the universe. And again, you could do this with a giant post-it if you have access to that. You could do piles of post-its, or you could even make piles with actual note cards. So that would be one way to do that strategy. If you don't have access to different sizes of post-it notes or index cards, you could also just do this with plain notebook paper or printer paper. And so you might remember that one of the examples that I showed you earlier at the beginning of our research was when we were looking at search maps, was one that I did earlier this year on sustainability and urban gardening, and how could I use that to move to a more specific topic. So this is one that I just kind of did sort of freehand with my mapping. And so again, I started kind of looking at my ideas and then my notes that I had collected. And again, if I start pulling out the big ideas, I started seeing emerging subtopics about health disparities or health inequity, and how that began to relate to urban gardening and food justice, issues of equity or inequity. What did urban gardening have to do with socioeconomic inequities? How did it either solve them, or if people didn't have access to fresh food, how did it actually make the inequity worse? And then looking at inequities of place or geography, how is geography connected to food justice, access to equitable access to healthy foods? So pulling out these subtopics helped me kind of hone in on the equity angle. And again, I had to do my note taking, my reading, my search mapping to have a body of information to work with to then begin to pull out subtopics. And again, each of these little lines, whether you freehand it this way or you use post-it notes, or if you were doing little sub notes with index cards, represents then kind of those details that would relate to that kind of bigger subtopic. So that's another strategy that you can use. All right, so we talked about kind of a physical sort of mapping of subtopics using post-it notes, note cards, or just freehanding that. A second strategy is to take your search map and or notes and to use a template called target notes. So let's take a look at how that would work. So hopefully, again, you've done your search mapping process to get those keywords, concepts, and phrases that have helped you build the language and vocabulary and background knowledge about your topic at large. And again, now we need to find those threads to pull, to hone in on, to help us crop our topic, if you will, and to get some focal points. So what we're going to do is use a template that's going to look like this. It's called Target Notes. So you'll start by putting your broad topic in the middle. And then you're basically going to go through and take, again, kind of the big ideas using a strategy called Generate, Sort, Connect, and Elaborate. So what we've done is we've already generated, if you will, our notes using the search mapping. Hopefully, if you have done that. If not, you'll need to backtrack and get that critical piece done. And then using your map, you will sort your ideas by how central or less relevant that they are. So you put the biggest or most important ideas near the center of your map, and the ones that are less important toward the outside of the page. So again, I kind of went through my search map that I had created. Again, you can kind of see it here. All right, went into that. And again, the things that were most important happened here in this inner circle. The things that I had, information or ideas that I collected that seemed to be less important, kind of go in this outer circle. Okay, so that's the first step. We did the sorting. The second step is to see, can you make any connections between the ideas? And if you want to make notes to yourself, then you could do that. So the idea is that you're drawing connecting lines between the ideas that are related in some way. So you can see that I tried to do that here. Okay. And then in the box at the bottom, or in the space at the bottom, see, can you elaborate or pull out what is most important? So my reflection was I began thinking about analyzing how the values related to matriarchal order, the afterlife beliefs, and the importance of order to society during the Old and Middle Kingdoms were reflected in my myth story of Isis and Osiris. So again, just kind of, again, putting the most important concepts here, making connections, the ones that are least important kind of go out here. And then can you pull out a couple of subtopics that you could then begin to craft? And if you'd like to try that strategy, we have the instructions and example target notes, as well as a blank template that you can do individually, or if you're doing your project with a partner, that you can do in pairs. So that's our second strategy. Our third strategy is taking the information that you've gleaned doing your search mapping process and any notes that you've taken, and using a tool called question lenses. So let's take a look at the question lenses and what that might look like if you try this strategy. So question lenses are designed just to help us think about how might we look at our topic through different eyes. How might framing our topic through these different question lenses, how might help us to get, again, a focal point for our topic. So let's take a look at how that might help us clarify what we're focusing on with our topic. We have a total of, I think, 5 question lenses, and again, you'll get a handout that you can use to help you work through this. But the first one is called Which One? And if you're framing your topic from this perspective, it's where you're looking at it to maybe make an informed choice. So, for example, if I were researching a broad topic of the civil rights movement, framing my question through the which one lens might look something like this. Which individual had the most influence on the civil rights movement, and how did this person influence the fight for equality? Our second question lens is how, and this helps us to understand problems and perspectives and to weigh out options and propose solutions. So kind of going back to my urban farming topic from earlier, I might look at my topic through this question lens. How can urban farming change the quality of life for people living in cities who face health and economic challenges? Another question lens is called what if. This is using the knowledge that you've started to collect and build to pose a hypothesis and look at options. So if I were researching environmental laws about coastal Georgia, this is sort of a hot local topic that may or may not be on your radar. The topic could look like this, using the what if lens. What if Georgia relaxes the restrictions on laws restricting development of Georgia's barrier islands, and how will it impact the survival of the salt marsh biome? So it helps us to pose hypothetical situations and explore the answers to that question. Another question lens is should. This helps us to make a moral or practical decision based on evidence. So obviously a hot topic in the news right now, police shootings and accountability. So maybe we frame that topic through this lens. Should all police departments purchase body cameras to protect both officers and citizens? And our last question lens is why. And of course this helps us to understand and examine relationships to get to the heart or essence of a complicated issue. So maybe if I were exploring heroin abuse, the research question could be framed through this lens. Why are so many people across all socioeconomic groups, ages, and ethnicities abusing heroin, and how is this epidemic impacting families? So these question lenses give us just an angle, if you will, or a different set of glasses or lenses to examine at the topic and to hopefully hone in on a specific aspect. So if you want to try this, then we have a template that you can take your topic and you can write a question using each of these lenses to examine your topic. So you might want to do that again with your partner, or again you could do that individually. If you want to try the question lens activity, then we have these handouts, and again you would put your topic in this space and then see, can you write or frame your research topic using each of these question lenses. And again, just kind of comparing across the different angles or perspectives might help you to get a focal point. We invite you or encourage you to try any or all of these strategies to help you get to a more focused place with your topic. If you need assistance, see Ms. Hamilton in person, or you can come in during lunch or during your homeroom with a pass, or you can send a request for help using her email link off of the LibGuide. We hope these strategies have been helpful for you today. And again, we invite you to try one or more of these strategies. Again, the critical piece is making sure that you've done your search mapping and that you've done that background reading about your topic. If you've skimped on that, then go back to the start and do that process first before you try the strategies. We have templates and examples that will be available for you to use during class time. So Ms. Dahlgren will have those available for you. Thank you so much for your kind attention.